And we continue to monitor the impact and the fallout of some of that severe weather that we saw roll through our area overnight into the early morning hours. And in particular, we've been following the impacts that it had at the world's busiest airport, Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson. And we're joined now live by the general manager of the airport, Ricky Smith. Thank you for making the time. I know it has been a busy day, sir.
Yes, it has. Good to see you, Zach. Thank you
Always
for inviting me.
appreciate, yeah, of course. We always appreciate your time. We know it's precious, so we'll get right into it. Let's talk about those storms. They rolled through the area. What was the impact to the airport and its operations this morning as those storms made their way through our area?
So we had some intermittent ground stops as a result of the storm. For the most part, the ground stops were associated with issues away from the airport, destinations other than the airport. But we expect the rest of this day to have some surprises as well as we get closer to the end of the day and into tomorrow morning, and we begin to see more frigid weathers, and the storm will begin to take on a completely different impact. But it hasn't been as impactful as it could have been. But the intermittent ground stops is always an inconvenience.
And you talk about surprises. I think something that perhaps may surprise the average traveler is just how interconnected the modern flight system and flight paths are. Some folks, I'd imagine, may come to the airport sometimes and say, hey, the weather's fine here right now. Why are there still delays on the board? Ricky, it's a super interconnected system, and if weather is elsewhere in the country, that can impact travelers trying to depart from Atlanta too, right?
I mean, you're right. I mean, the airspace is interconnected, and so if there's weather en route to a destination, that will certainly impact whether or not a flight can take off from Hartsfield-Jackson, and the reverse. In terms of flights coming into Hartsfield-Jackson. But you also got to factor in the fact that where there's a hub, and Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson is a large hub for Delta Airlines, and so if there's an impact at one of Delta's hubs, that impacts operations here as well. And so, the aviation system is interconnected both domestically and internationally, and it's not too often that something happens that's not obvious to the passenger's eye that affects operations at an airport.
And so often it seems that those impacts are felt right here in Atlanta. It's the world's busiest airport. And so you've got just about as many points of interconnection as any other airport in the world. One of the wrinkles that airports across the country and right here in Atlanta are dealing with is this ongoing partial government shutdown that is impacting the Department of Homeland Security. TSA employees have now gone without a full paycheck at this point. What kind of impact is Hartsfield-Jackson seeing from this ongoing partial shutdown?
Well, we're 30 days in now with this new shutdown, and I mean, just back in October, November, we had the largest shutdown in the history of the country, 43 days. And so I think what we're beginning to see here and perhaps at other TSA locations around the country, TSA employees just aren't very confident or tolerant um, of how well they will be able to rely on their employment with the federal government. And so we're seeing, as we're seeing across the country, TSA employees are actually quitting the jobs because they have to find alternative sources of income. And obviously, to the extent that they find other employments, that reduces their presence here. I mean, today TSA forecasts about a 36% call out for the airport here. I mean, that's a significant impact on what we're doing. Things are going much smoother now, but this morning, during peak time, we had an average of about an hour and 15 to an hour and 30 minutes wait times across pretty much across the organization. Only one of our checkpoints was closed, but still, those checkpoints that were open were supported by some very long lines in the airport.
You point to the last government shutdown that we saw just a few months ago. That was a record setting government shutdown. Now, once again, we're seeing a shutdown. This one, a partial government shutdown. But if you're somebody who leads an airport, both of these shutdowns is directly impacting the work that you and so many of your colleagues at Hartsfield-Jackson do. Were you frustrated to see this partial government shutdown happen?
Well, I'm frustrated with anything that happens that interrupts the airport's ability to provide the best experience to our passengers. This is just one example of how that can happen, but it's not about me being frustrated. It's more about our passengers being frustrated and how they feel. And we just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can within the control that we have to try and make a bad situation the best situation that we can. And one of the ways we do that is we have a community here at the airport that's being extremely creative in finding ways to try and support our TSA employees. I mean, providing them food, providing them free transportation. We provide vouchers, for example, as well as other people in the community, just to try to relieve some of the stress and the anxiety that we know they're going through because of the uncertainty around how they're going to get their next paycheck.
And you talk about those travelers that so many of whom move through Hartsfield-Jackson every day. What would be your message to them? Should they be showing up even earlier than usual to plan in for the potential of longer than usual TSA wait times?
Absolutely. You should come at least 3 hours in advance. You should also check our website, check your airline's website, call your airline. We don't want you to come to the airport any earlier than you have to, and so making those calls in advance would be helpful. And when you arrive, just know that you're going to experience an abnormal situation, an unusual environment, and that your wait times are going to be longer than expected. Now, I will say this. We've had long lines, but the lines have been orderly. I think the passengers have been very patient and understanding of the situation that we're going in. They've been showing TSA employees enormous respect and appreciation for those that are coming in. And so, the one message I would deliver to our passengers is thank you for your understanding and your tolerance. This is a very difficult situation for a lot of people, for a lot of us, and they should rest assured that the airport and all the airport partners are doing the best we can to give them the best experience.
And there are so many variables that impact this, and understanding that TSA employees are federal employees, not under the direct employment of the airport. As this stretches on, is there a point at which the TSA situation under the partial government shutdown will just become unsustainable for the ongoing operations at the current level of the airport?
Well, obviously, I mean, again, we're at 36% call out now. I mean, just imagine if that gets to, and you can see the impact that has here at Hartsfield-Jackson. If you start getting north of 40, closer to 50, 60%, I mean, hopefully we never get to that point. But, I don't have to imagine how impactful that would be on the customer's experience. And so yes, it creates enormous uncertainty in terms of air travel. And again, we're going to do everything we can to try to create the best experience. We work very closely with TSA to try to make sure that they're staffing in the most strategic way so that we can maximize what we're getting out of the employees that are coming to work. And we're doing the best we can to try to entice those employees who have not decided to leave to continue to come to work every day.
Always a lot to track. Let's end with this question. We've talked about sort of the situation where we find ourselves right now. Forward-looking planning never stops when you're talking about something like the world's busiest airport. In particular, right now, you have a big event coming up on the near-term horizon. The World Cup is coming to Atlanta and a number of other cities, but Atlanta is going to be a host site for a lot of that World Cup action. That's going to bring an influx of travelers. How is the airport preparing for that major event coming our way?
Well, we're prepared, and Atlanta's used to handling big events. So the airport is used to handling big events. The industry is used to handling Thanksgiving. So we're used to having large-scale passengers come to the airport. But we expect World Cup to be an experience like no other. And so we're preparing on a number of fronts. One, we want to make sure that the passengers that are here, that are coming to the airport, that they're safe and that they're secure. And so, we're beefing up our security infrastructure in coordination with the many security partners that we have at the airport to make sure that the environment is safe. But we also want to make sure that people that are visiting Atlanta feel Atlanta, that they understand the culture of Atlanta when they get off the plane. But we want to balance that with them also having some connection with themselves, right? And so, through our concessions program, our internal marketing program, our advertising program, we have a vast customer experience team that speak multiple languages. We'll be doing everything we can to make sure that they feel at home when they come to Atlanta. The mayor talks about the World Cup coming, being a part of the community in a way that the broader community benefits. We don't want the World Cup to just come to Atlanta. We want it to come with Atlanta. And so the airport is the living room of this city, and we're doing everything we can to kind of get things off to on the right track.
Never a dull day at the world's busiest airport, Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport General Manager Ricky Smith. Thank you, as always, for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Zach. Take care.